Would the members of the Toronto and East York Community Council please come to Committee Room 1?
Okay. Welcome back, members. We have quorum. If I can invite city councillors to take their seat. We'd like to bring this meeting back to order. I'm calling the meeting back to order. Councillor Fragedakis. You can just invite everyone to take their seat. We're going to start at TE 30.19. It's still an 11 o'clock item. Okay, I believe we're probably ready to dispense with item number 19. It was an 11 o'clock item. I don't see Councillor Fletcher in her chair. We could continue to hold on to it, but I also recognize that there are members of the public who may be here to speak to this matter. So I'm just going to read the title, and if you're here to speak to this particular item, then we'll hear from you first. I don't want to keep you waiting. TE 30.19, alterations to a heritage property, intention to designate under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, and authority to enter into a heritage easement agreement. 462 Eastern Avenue. Are there any members of the public here to deal with this particular matter? Okay. Seeing none, then what I'll do is I'll continue to hold, and we'll wait for Councillor Fletcher to come back. That brings us to TE 30.20, request for a fence exemption, 36 Berryman Street. Are there any members of the public here to deal with this matter? No? Okay. I'd like to move a motion. The motion can be placed on the screen, and to defer this matter till the 4th meeting of Toronto East Shore Community Council. The parties are in mediation, and they've requested a bit more time. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. T 30.21, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447-51, Don Valley Drive. Are there any members here? Yes, please come on up. Oh, actually, please come up. If you want to just take a seat, I think the councillor would like to address you. She's going to give you her intentions. Councillor Fragedakis.
Yes, sorry, I'm going to be moving a deferral on this matter because the applicant has asked for a deferral because she can't be here for medical reasons till April. So I'm not sure procedurally if they speak today, can they speak in April?
So you are permitted to speak and be heard. You'll be given 5 minutes if you want to speak to the matter today. The councillor's intention is to have that matter not be decided upon today, but rather in April. So when you come back in April, you can also speak again at that time if you like, or you can save your speech until the April meeting. Okay.
We will be sent notification of the date by mail, etc.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you will be sent written notification.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So then I'll hand over the floor to Councillor Fragedakis.
I've prepared a deferral motion and ask you to support this. The applicant is unable to be here and has asked for, says that she will be here in April.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. T 30.22, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447, 288 Monarch Park Avenue. We do have 2 registered speakers. The first speaker is Ron Lewin. Welcome. There's a button in front of you. If you press that, it will light up, and that means your microphone is on. The clock is on your left-hand side, and you have 5 minutes when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My partner and I are grateful for the opportunity to address the Community Council. The reasons we are asking for a fence exemption are set out in our application package, and I just wanted to emphasize a few key points. I know one of the concerns regarding front yard fences is safety. It's important that cars should be able to back out of their driveways without having their view obstructed, so that pedestrians and drivers are always kept safe. Our fence is 15 feet, 4.5 meters away from the nearest driveway. It was split into 3 sections, and the section closest to the street is about 1.1 meters tall, which is below the maximum. The 2 taller sections of the fence are further away from the sidewalk, and as you can see from the photos, each section of the fence is open. The top 8 inches of each fence has been left open, so we believe that the street and community are not being jeopardized, and the fence was built with that in mind. The fence was designed by an architect as part of a larger home renovation project, which was a front home addition. And it was designed to match the other fences on our street, of which there are 3, and to maintain the character of the street and the houses. It is built from wood. I also want to emphasize the tremendous support we have received from our neighbors, who provided letters of support that are also included in our package and that I hope you've had a chance to see. We have experienced some challenges with one neighbor, who you'll be hearing from next, who objected to the front home addition and now objects to the fence. Ironically, he is the reason we felt it was important to build the fence in the first place, in order to maintain a level of separation from him and from the encroaching vegetation in his front yard, as you can see from the photos. We tried for several years to work with him and find some reasonable solutions, to no avail. We've taken a fair amount of abuse over the years, trying to keep back the vegetation, and finally felt we had no choice but to construct a fence that would provide the privacy and safety we need. I believe our neighbor will tell you that the fence has cut out his light and air, and I would suggest that if he wants more light and air, all he needs to do is maintain his wildly overgrown front yard, as we have been asking. Now, it's not my intention to cause distress or embarrass him today, so we have included more details in the application package about some of the incidents in the past that I hope you've had a chance to see. So we hope that our request for an exemption is considered reasonable under these circumstances. At the end of the day, we really hope that a relatively minor variance relating to height will really improve our quality of life and our ability to use and enjoy the front yard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the speaker?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, yes, Councillor Fragedakis.
I'm just wondering, you mentioned that you had submitted your package. I'm just wondering if that package was submitted in every member of council, to every member of council, or just to the TEYCC?
I submitted it to TEYCC, who mentioned that they would be circulating it to the councillors.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to call upon Frank Hamilton. Frank Hamilton. Welcome, Frank. The clock is on your left-hand side. You can keep track of your time there. And the microphone is directly in front of you. Just make sure the button is pressed and the light is lit.
The light is lit.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to have my say today, members of the council. I guess the main issue with the fence for me is that it is very visually obstructive. It's very long. It goes all the way from my porch to the street. In the process of building the porch next door, because I am the neighbor who is directly next to 288 Monarch Park, this being one of the semi-detached buildings, right? So I'm right there, and during the process of the building of this porch, at a certain point, in fact, it was in the first 2 weeks in last August, all of a sudden a fence appeared, which had not been indicated in any way, and of course I had not been consulted about it, but the contractor just put it there, and it became fairly clear fairly quickly that it was going to be quite a long fence all the way from the sidewalk to the porch. And it was raising up, there were basically 3 8-foot panels that rise up from the allowed 4-foot level. They go up 11 inches once, and then on the third panel it goes up another 11 inches. So we're getting close to 6 feet as we get to the house. Now, the rules of the game are really based on keeping neighborhoods in the front yard and the public side somewhat open, and therefore for safety reasons and just general sort of feeling of comfort. On our street you see very few fences, none that go all the way to the street, but there are a few small separators things, but in generally there are no separators things. And if you walk around East York area, you'll find the same thing, that there are very few barriers in the front area. So, in effect, I suppose, I'm presuming, I don't know really if everybody has the report I sent in, but one of the pictures, it shows the breadth of the fence, and it goes all, basically something like 25 feet from the house, which is actually wider than the property itself. The properties are 17 feet in that area. And so it's a substantial piece of work which basically cuts out my wife and I are living in that house, and it cuts out a view down the street, and also, of course, is somewhat imposing in terms of it really being at our height. The main purpose, as I mentioned in my report, the main purpose of, or one of the main purposes of the bylaw on the front yard is to allow, is to limit the amount of barrier, the amount of separation that is placed between units at the front on the street side. And so they have a limit of 1.2, that's a 4-foot height, and they also limit the length in that there's a city property is always in front of our properties before it gets to the sidewalk, and you're only allowed to go 2.4 or 8 feet from the point of the city property line meeting the owner's property line. So this means that the first section, which goes right to the street, really isn't allowed at all. And a large part of the reason I mean for that is that you can't see people, children, or animals and sort of coming down the street.
Mr. Hamilton, I apologize for interrupting, but your time is up. Can I just ask you for your final thought?
Particularly when you're backing your car out of the driveway. So I see no reason why the rules should not be kept to the limiting rules for the size and the height and the length of the fence.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. There is a question for you.
Mr. Hamilton, are you aware that the driveway is not right next to the fence, but on the other side of the property?
Yeah, but the properties are only, as I say, they're very narrow, and there's also a tree involved there.
No, there's no tree on the front property of 288 Monarch.
No, on my property,
Okay.
between...
Yeah, I was just actually asking about the orientation of the driveway, that it's not against the fence, and I was wondering if you were
Not
aware
right
of
against
that.
the fence, no.
Okay.
But you can, when you back out, it's difficult
Thank
to
you.
see. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I don't believe there are any other members of the public here for this matter, but I'll just call one more time. Request for fence exemption for Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447, 288 Monarch Park Avenue. Any other speakers? Okay, seeing none. Any members with questions of staff? Okay, go ahead, Councillor. Councillor Fragedakis.
So, through you, Madam Chair, to staff, so if the applicant was to construct a fence that was at the height allowed by the bylaw, then this issue wouldn't be here, and a fence could actually be in the front yard. Is that correct?
That's correct, Councillor Fragedakis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members to speak. Councillor Fragedakis.
So I'm going to be moving recommendation number 2, which is to grant the application for the fence exemption permit. I have before me a lot of letters from neighbors on that side of the street and from across the street in support of the fence. The walkway has been moved, the driveway's on the other side. I understand from staff that there are no safety issues with respect to getting in and out of driveways because of this fence, and in fact, this fence has been constructed although it's above the bylaw, and I normally don't like people building first and asking for permission later, which I've already spoken to the owner of the applicant at 288 Monarch Park Avenue about that. They've constructed slats, so on the top portion of the fence that actually allows for sunlight. So that's my motion, and that's, I hope you can support it.
Okay, are there any questions of the mover? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. Oh, item as amended, please. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. TE 30.23, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447, 257 Eastwood Road. Are there any members of the public here to speak to this matter? Okay, seeing none. Are there members with questions of staff? Okay, seeing none. Members to speak?
Yes, so I'm going to ask for deferral for this because the neighbors are talking to each other.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, yes, it's great.
Sorry, Councillor McMahon, can you give us a return date? When would you like this item
so
back?
the next cycle. Okay. So it's April, yep.
Great. So motion on the floor to defer the matter until April 2018. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. Good luck to the residents. T 30.24, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447, 5 Violet Avenue. We do have a registered speaker, Charmin Wilson. Welcome. You are welcome to each take 5 minutes, or you can share it together, whatever you like. The clock is on your left-hand side. Just make sure that your microphone is on and it's indicated by the light in front of you. Okay, when you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Charmin Wilson. I'm the owner and have lived at 5 Violet Avenue for the past 30 years. Thank you for taking the time to listen and review my application for fence height exemptions. I sincerely apologize for not requesting the exemptions in advance of construction. I discussed wanting to replace the 30-year-old deteriorating fences with both next-door neighbors at 3 and 7 Violet. Mrs. Lafayette, the owner of number 3, did not want to spend money to share the cost of a new west side fence being built on the 3 and 5 Violet property boundary line. She did commit to repairing one section of the old fence that was falling over due to some fence posts without cement footings. She would not agree to a new fence being built on our mutual property line, even if it was entirely at my expense. She did not mind if I built a new, higher fence on my property abutting the old fence. Please refer to Mrs. Lafayette's email to me from August 2017, where she says, Charmin, so that you know, build whatever you wish in your yard. As I had approval from both next-door neighbors, I proceeded to have the fence built and did not realize that I had to have fence exemption permits if my next-door neighbors were agreeable to higher fences. I had no idea that neighbors 3 lots or 100 or more feet away would have any concerns about the extra fence height. Before I could build the west side fence, I had also to repair sections of the old fence to make sure it was safe. I did this before the new fence was built. Please see the document submitted with my application listing the following reasons for a fence height exemption permit. A is noise abatement. 3 Violet has a very noisy central air conditioning unit under the open back porch steps, which are about 1.5 meters from the fence line. The AC runs 24/7 as it is a very small unit. I asked the owner if she could try to find a way to muffle the sound, but she told me she was not breaking any laws, so she had no interest in alleviating the noise. Item B, privacy, security, safety. Bylaw fence height is measured from absolute flat level ground. As 5 Violet is more than 1 foot higher than number 3, as the ground slopes naturally from east to west, it gives more privacy to both neighbors if the fence is higher, as both 3 and 5 Violet have 3-foot-high elevated decks at the back. 3 Violet is a rental property with a constant turnover of tenants. Some of the past tenants have included ex-convicts for serious drug-related crimes and other very aggressive individuals. My house has experienced thefts, including snow tires stolen from my backyard. A higher fence is a deterrent to further theft and damages. I have also installed a gate which is kept locked at all times. Regarding the request for the fence height exemption for the east side fence, it should be acknowledged that the higher section of the fence has been there for over 7 years and with no neighbor complaints. The fence is next to the back elevated deck at number 5. Please see the photographs that are provided. The lower and shorter section of the fence was built to replace the 30-year-old fence. I have a letter from Simon Romano, the owner of number 7, in support of our mutual east side fence height. As in his words, it contributes to our mutual privacy and security. As well, it is attractive. Please note his letter that I've included with my package. The east side fence helps to obscure the grey concrete block wall of the garage at number 7 and is of benefit to everyone looking from west to east. If my east side fence is lowered, 2 things will happen. The concrete block wall of the garage will be exposed again, and the removal of the higher portion will reveal my neighbor's fence superstructure instead of the new horizontal boards of my fence. I was seriously disturbed yesterday when I finally had the opportunity to read Mr. Gadd's letter of 23 Lee Avenue of his complaints to Gurminder Purba at Municipal Licensing and Standards. I need to answer and put on record the correction to the defamation of my character. He insinuates that I killed the boundary tree between his property and mine, and the tree died mysteriously so I could build a shed.
Sorry to interrupt, but if I can ask you to contain your remarks specifically to the matter before us.
Okay. So I've included the letter about the tree. I thought that was a very serious allegation in his letter of complaint regarding this fence issue. So I'll leave that to you to read the documentation I've included.
Thank you, and your time is up.
Okay. I'd just briefly like to say it's my hope that I shall write to all my neighbours, apologise for any inconvenience, and let them know we will be planting vines over the pergola, we will be greening the yard, planting 2 new trees, and my hope is to invite them all to our annual garden party and hopefully mend some fences with our neighbours. That would be our preference.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the gentleman on your left, would you also like to speak?
No, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members with questions of the speaker? Okay, seeing none, with our thank yous. Any other members of the public here to speak? Okay. Would you like to come to the front of the room? Are you speaking together? Okay. And after you speak, we're going to need you to register the clerk so they can also update the speakers list. Okay. If there's a... Okay, so you're not quite on my list yet, so I apologize for that. We probably need to update that. If there's anything that you want to show us, it can be projected. If you want to place that directly onto the overhead projector. Yeah, you can see it. It's actually now projected on the screen. Depending on what you want to show us, we'll try to put it into focus for you. And feel free to move it around and just give it some time to settle the image. And the light has to be lit in order for your microphone to be on. The clock is on your left-hand side. When you're ready, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Jacqueline Lafayette, and I have lived at 3 Violet for, this will be going into my 18th year. I have raised 5 children there that have attended Malvern Collegiate School. They have become valedictorians of the school and presidents of the schools they have attended. There has been talk of this being a rental property. I do have a basement apartment, and we have never had any issues, and I'll be very honest, my door has probably been left open, the front door, for 15 years, and I've never had an issue. I'm here to talk about the fence and the ongoing issue about the fence being constructed. In 2016, I was approached by Walter, stating that they were going to do some extensive work to the back garden. They wanted to change the fence. There was a post that was a little rotted out, That I changed and had, by my own expense, I'm just trying to see where I can show you the 2 posts there that were put in. They did not agree to compensate for that. During this time, Inspector Michael Patterson has been called to 3 Violet and 5 Violet numerous times. He did speak to both of us and stated that once the fence 2 posts had been repaired, there was no need for a new fence. They went ahead and wanted to put in a new horizontal fence and do quite extensive work to their property. This has gone on for 2 years, 2 summers that I have not been able to use my garden, 2 summers that I've not been able to walk down the mutual driveway because of sand, gravel, old trees, old stumps. I have photos of those also. Again, the city was involved, and after 2 years, they changed that. The existing fence that you can see in the photos is number 1. That is the existing fence that has been there, and the structure behind number 1 is the new 3.5 feet that they have added. Sharman made a comment that she did not realize that neighbors were upset. She has chosen one email to read from, and I have kept every email I have sent, stating that I was not agree to this. The other main change that they have done is they have increased the height of their back garden, and they have added stone. We live in the beach, the south end of the beach, and everybody knows water runs underneath our gardens and our homes. All last year, when they were doing this project and when it rained and when they washed down, all the soil to the east of my garden is now eroded. Where my flowers would stand, they were no longer. I cannot talk to the tree that was removed mysteriously while I was away, but yes, there was a tree that once stood there. I had a beautiful view. At present, what I have shown you and what you can see is the view now from my back garden, from my kitchen window. I am dwarfed by this ugly fence that is totally caged me in. We can talk about the fence to the east of their property because there is an enormous garage there. Our homes are all different. We have no garages, but number 7 does have a very high garage. We also had a gentleman that was a little bit, I don't know what to say, but we needed to have a high fence there. There is no disagreement because that has worked. This does not just impede me. The service only came to me and I believe a few of the neighbours, but all the neighbours to the south of Lee, and I do believe you have received letters from other neighbours who are totally against the fence, the 9-foot fence, and the view it has caused. All our gardens verge on each other. All of our gardens have the same 6-foot fence. This is an eyesore. There has never been any issues of security. I believe the wheels that they said, the tires that went missing, were left at the front of their garden, not the back. There has never been an issue with anything in the back. As I said, I have raised 5 children. The youngest is 16. We have had no issues. I am the 2nd longest owner on that street, Sharman being the 1st. And I have never seen anything like this. And one thing that I would like to say for the record.
Your final thought, please.
I have been totally bullied during this process.
We'll just keep the comments contained to the item.
Inspector Patterson came, he looked at my AC unit. It is less than 2 years old. It is an update.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any members with questions for the speaker? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public here to speak? The gentleman beside you, would you like to speak as well?
I would just comment. I'm Michael Moran. I'm Jacqueline's partner. Just to say that the existing fence, which you can see in number 1, is the grayish fence, which still exists, forms a perimeter that goes right around the backyard on all sides. In the document that was submitted in 2017, it refers to the the new fence as the existing fence, and I just found that confusing. The existing fence is still there. It's 6.5 feet or 2 meters tall. The new one behind it, you can see, which is more of a horizontal wall, is roughly 9 feet.
Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. Okay. We are going to bring this matter into Community Council. Are there members with questions for staff? Okay. Councillor McMahon, did you have questions for staff? Okay. Members to speak?
Sure.
Councillor?
Right, and I would move staff recommendations to deny the fence exemption.
Okay, any questions for the councillor? Seeing none, all those in favor to deny the fence exemption? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. TE 30.25, request for a fence exemption to the Toronto Municipal Code, Chapter 447. Address is 471 Woodbine Avenue. Are there any members of the public here for this matter? Okay. Seeing none, any questions for staff? Members to speak. Councillor McMahon?
Yes, and I will move the recommendations to grant the fence exemption.
Okay. All those in favor to grant the fence exemption? Any opposed? Item as amended? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. T 30.26, request for an extension of operating hours of the Boulevard Cafe permit located at 162 Ossington Avenue, Foxley Street, flankage. We do have one speaker here, Julie Galiatos. Julie, welcome. Just make sure the light on the button is on, and that means your microphone is on. You have 5 minutes when you're ready. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to ask for an extension of our patio hours. I am the co-owner of Ideal Coffee, a community cafe located at 162 Ossington Avenue. We've been there for over 12 years. We have a beautiful new patio that was just recently reconstructed, and we went through patio renovations in order to comply with the city standards this last summer. We would like to make full use of this opportunity by increasing our hours during the evening. And we would like to ask for an extension of our hours for the patio from 9 p.m. to either 10 or 11 p.m., depending on the weeknight, weekend hours. We have listened to our customers, and we would like to add more of a food offering during the evening. This is why we were asking for this short extension to our hours.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members with questions for the speaker? Okay, seeing none, are there any other speakers here for this matter? Don't see any. Any members with questions to staff? Councillor Layton? Nope. Okay. Members to speak. Councillor Layton.
Yes, thank you very much. I have a motion. First, I'd like to apologize. I thought I had time to go to the washroom, but something got deferred really quick. I ran back, and I'm glad I didn't miss it, because I'm happy to move make a recommendation to move that we approve the extension to 11 o'clock. But I will add a condition that staff review the permit in 2019 at the request of the local councillor. We haven't received any complaints, at least that I have on file, in relation to Ideal. They're good neighbors. It's a cool, funky little patio, what you'd expect from Ossington. We did have a petition from neighbors that was brought to us in support when it was 9 p.m. Because we haven't got any complaints, we think that 11 p.m. is a reasonable time to offer, but I would, just to keep the pressure on to remain good neighbors, which I have no reason to doubt that they would, that we put this on, that we look at it again in 2019, and after we have a year in with the later closing time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great. All those in favor of the motion before you?
No, this is on Ossington.
Yeah, item as amended? Okay, thank you. That carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll drop by for coffee.
Thank you.
Okay. TE 30.27, refusal of a Boulevard Cafe permit application located at 199 Augusta Avenue. Are there any members here who are, any members of the public here to speak to this matter? Seeing none, any members with questions of staff? Seeing none, members to speak. Councillor Cressy.
Thank you. I'm going to defer this until the next meeting, so just for one meeting. We're just about there on conditions, and I have a meeting planned next week between the applicant and the local neighborhood.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. TE 30.28, impose operating conditions to a Boulevard Cafe permit located at 234 Augusta Avenue. Are there members of the public here to speak to this matter? Okay, I don't see any hands going up. We'll bring this inside. Any members with questions of staff? Seeing none, members to speak. Councillor Cressy.
Thank you. I'm going to move to adopt staff recommendations, and I just note that they include the conditions that our office has asked for.
Okay. All those in favor? Staff recs. Any opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. TE 30.29, refusal of an extension to the Boulevard Cafe permit located at 76 Lippincott Street. Are there any members of the general public here to speak to this matter? Seeing none, we'll bring this into the Community Council. Any members with questions of staff? Don't see any. Members to speak. Councillor Cressy.
Thank you. So I'm going to move an amendment, first of all, and the amendment is to add the following conditions to the existing patio permit, because there is an existing, and then moreover, I will then move the staff recommendations, which is to deny the request that they've made to expand the patio.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Item as amended? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. TE 30.30, impose operating conditions to a Boulevard Cafe permit located at 150 Spadina Avenue, Units 1 and 2. Any members here from the public to speak to this matter? Okay, seeing none. Members, do you have any questions of staff? Seeing none, members to speak. Councillor Cressy.
I'm going to move to adopt the staff recommendations, which again, I like to thank staff, includes our conditions that we've put in.
Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. T 30.31, refusal of Boulevard marketing permit application located at 651 Gerard Street East. We do have a member of the public here to speak to the matter. Please welcome. Take a seat at the front and make sure that the microphone is working by indicating the light is on. Okay. And
the light is on.
Okay. I'll start your clock when you're ready.
Okay. The light is on. Okay.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tijun Pan, and I'm the owner of the gift shop on 651 Gerard Street, City of Toronto.
Sorry, sir, if I'm just going to ask you to hold on.
Yeah.
Can we keep the sound in the room to a minimum? I just can't hear our speaker. Please continue. I'll give you 15 seconds more. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Okay. My store selling gifts and housewares. It is like a convenience store. My store is on a business street. There is marketing display table which has been sitting in front of my store window for many years. The display table size is 0.16 times 2.26 meters. It is a small table, just like 2 by 4 feet in front of my store. In November 2017, I tried to renew the Boulevard marketing permit, but it has been refused. The reason is that the city wants to create streetscape by using bricks to replace the sidewalk instead of the concrete. And the city leaves 1.75 meters from paths to the marketing display table. In the past, there was 2.95 meters wide concrete sidewalk in front of my store to the curb, which had enough room to apply the marketing permit. However, the new brickwork is 1.18 meters wide, so it is reduced the width of the pathway. Therefore, there is not enough room for me to apply a 0.61 meters wide marketing table. If I revise my marketing table plans, I will only get 0.02 meters table in front of my store. So could you imagine how small it is? According to the data, there is 2.26 meters wide between my marketing table to the curb, including the brick sidewalk. There is much more room for people to walk or shopping on the street freely. I have a happy family with 2 lovely children. One is in high school and one is in the middle school. My wife and I operated this gift shop from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're working hard in order to make living. All my family's income is from this business, but it is still a low income. Also, my business is a small business, and our family relies on this business to survive. In addition, it is difficult for my business to insist on existing in this competitive environment. Totally, I obey the law and society to make a living. And the marketing field is a big part of my family's income. If I cannot get the sidewalk marketing permit, my business will be terminated and my family will lose all the income. However, the city wants to create street scope by refusing my application. This is not fair for me. Moreover, both sides of my store, there's a big supermarket, and the next side is a flower shop. They all have a marketing table.
Mr. Pan, you've run out of time. Would you like to give us your final thought?
Oh, okay.
One more sentence.
So this is also is not fair for me. And I also have the picture to show us how clean in front of my store.
You can put the image directly on top of the overhead and make sure it's facing you. So look at it as if you were looking directly at it. So turn it so you can see it.
Oh, thank you.
There you go. Okay, and thank you very much.
Okay, I appreciate for all of you to come.
Sorry, Mr. Pan, your time is up. Yeah, there may be questions for you from members of the committee. Are there any questions of the speaker? No? Okay.
Thank you for coming. I'm just going to let you know, I'm going to defer this so I can come out and look at that.
Thank you very much.
In your neighborhood.
Thank you.
Let everybody else know that too.
Okay.
And I'll also,
I would just yield the floor to Councillor Fletcher. She has a special announcement.
Yes, I have a very special announcement. And behind you, Mr. Penn, all the students from grade 5 Dundas Public School are here with us today. We've just spent a half an hour talking about City Council, and now they're seeing how Community Council works and how people get to come and speak here. So now you've learned a little bit more, and thanks to the teachers and everybody else.
Okay, welcome everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, are there any, thank you very much and welcome to the students from Dundas Public School. Are there any members of, any other members of the public here to speak to this matter? Emily, I see you.
Hey everyone. So I have this picture to show you, and what it is it shows the storefronts along Gerard and the gentleman's storefront in question. I want to thank him for being one of the few places that's slightly wheelchair accessible, but I also want to show you the fact that there is not much space along this sidewalk for signs, much less people on bicycles. Yes, they do that. And people with disabilities traveling and waiting out on the sidewalk for a storekeeper to help us. I've been able to travel this part of the sidewalk due to the fact that the 506 is now buses. Thank you very much. But also, I'm worried about accessibility when it comes to this area. The billboard signage is very frustrating to deal with when you're in a wheelchair, especially if it's A-frame signs, and they're put anywhere and everywhere. And the marketing table, sometimes some of their stuff on the outside of the store will come onto the sidewalk far enough that it's very difficult to navigate, especially if there's anyone walking along there or crowds walking along there. And I don't know if you can tell, I'm using Google Street View. Sorry for making you seasick if I am. But if you can see the narrowness of the sidewalk right here, right along there, and the stuff coming out, and then you go along and there's the supermarket stuff. Unfortunately, the car's in the way. But you'll notice that there's stuff out on the sidewalk all along here, which makes it difficult to get around. It's not just difficult here, it's also difficult in both Chinatowns. And I just would like to ask the city to keep in mind that not everyone walks, not everyone has the ability to go in small spaces. Thank you.
Emily, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any members with questions for the speaker? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Emily. Are there any other members of the public here to speak to this particular matter? 651 Gerard. Okay, seeing none, we'll bring this inside. Any members with questions of staff? Okay, members to speak? Just the deferral?
Yeah, I'm just going to move this to the April 4th meeting.
Okay. All those in favor? Deferral motions on the screen.
Hold your hands up so the students can see how we vote here, please. Thank you.
So we are now voting, students from Dundas Public School.
Don't count their vote.
They're voting.
You're also voting. We're going to
count the electronic voting, and now we're doing the hand vote.
You support this motion as much as we do. Okay, any opposed? Okay, keep your hand up if you're against this motion. Okay, that carries. Thank you very much. Democracy in action. TE 30.32, front yard parking appeal, 30 McCord Road. We do have one registered speaker. Thank you, students, for coming. We'll see you again. I'd like to call Lorraine Chan to the front of the room. Okay.
Smile, Madam Speaker, Madam Chair.
Okay, Lorraine Chan. Welcome, Lorraine. Just make sure the light is lit in front of you, okay? And you've got 5 minutes. The clock is on your left-hand side.
Thank you, committee, for having me at this meeting. My name is Lorraine, and I reside at 30 McCord Road, located at Mount Pleasant, Davisville, in Ward 22. I'm here today to speak on the front yard parking appeal we submitted in December 2017. My husband, Michael, and I are new community members to Ward 22. We moved in last October and continue to grow our appreciation for the community. It's an exciting time for us to move into the area. We're expecting our first child this spring. We're getting to know our neighbors, and we're learning about all the changes that are happening in the area. As we look forward to growing in this community and raising our young family, Michael and I are here to look for your approval on our appeal application for front yard parking. The original application was submitted by the previous owners, and we're now taking over the process and looking for your approval for a few reasons that specifically impact our family. Firstly, we're finding an increasing scarcity of parking since we moved in last October. The growth in retail and residential developments in the area has made it very difficult for us to find street parking. Our street, 30 McCord Road, also doesn't have licensed street parking available. Secondly, a poll was done by the previous owners, and our neighbors have voted in favor of building our front pad. In fact, many of our neighbors on the street have a front pad, so there is precedence. Thirdly, understanding the importance of green space in the community, we have taken every measure to minimize the paved area of the front pad. We'll be looking to use permeable material to build the front pad if we get approved, and maximize the green space on our property. We've actually worked with City of Toronto Engineering at East York Civic Centre to explore a few different design options as well. So the current proposed design is off by the requirements by a few percentage points from a landscape open space versus a soft landscaping area. However, we hope this can be mitigated by the garden we have planted on our front lawn, along with surrounding trees dating over 100 years. And lastly, something that we most look forward to, as I mentioned, we're expecting our first child this spring, and we plan on growing our family and having more kids while living in this home. We have older parents who will be helping with the kids, so having the front pad parking will improve safety and convenience. We've already had a few unsafe incidents caused by weather, like icy sidewalks on the way to our house, which can be resolved with a dedicated front yard parking. This concludes my deputation, and I'd like to thank you again for having me. Michael and I look forward to hearing the voting results on this topic.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Are there any questions for the speaker? Okay. Seeing none. Are there any other members of the public here to speak on this matter? Seeing none. Thank you. Are there members with questions of staff? Seeing none. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Layton.
If I could, thank you very much. I just looked at a picture of Street View, and I'm just wondering why a drip line for the tree wasn't included. Because it looks like the tree actually, the canopy, according to Street View, goes well above the proposed parking spot, but it's not included on the drawing.
The tree was added at a later date. It's not within the tree protection zone, but the drip line itself is beyond the tree protection zone.
But I was under the assumption the tree protection zone extended to the width of the canopy.
It does not.
No? Really? What's then how is that determined? Based on the size of the tree?
It's all based on the diameter of the tree itself.
Okay. I always thought it was an easy one to measure it was the distance of.
That would have been too easy.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other members with questions to staff? Okay, seeing none, members to speak. Councillor Matlow? Oh, okay.
So I'm going to move the alternate recommendation to support the residents' request. As you heard, this in no way would be within the tree protection zone, and I think it's a completely reasonable request by the resident to support their quality of life. And I hope that we can count on your support.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Perks?
Noting that the report, drip line notwithstanding, says that the proposal would have a negative impact on the tree in question, and urban forestry would not support the proposal, and further that the property has a mutual driveway, I'm going to move the staff recommendation to refuse.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak? Okay. All those in favor of the first motion on the floor, which is alternative recommendations, please indicate your support.
No, they do not.
1, 2, 3, 4. And all those opposed?
Oh, I had one in favor here.
Oh, come on. Seriously.
Actually, Councillor Bailao was not quite in the room. We started the other.
So what was the vote?
Okay, you know what?
Madam Chair?
Why don't we do this?
What was the vote?
Yeah, well, I'll count the vote again. So all those in favor of the alternative recommendations, please indicate your support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that does not carry. All those in favor of the staff recommendations, indicate your support. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that carries. Staff recommendations prevails. Thank you very much. T 30.33, front yard parking appeal, 34 Ellerbeck Street.
I was actually, the applicants are here, but I was actually going to move a deferral till May because I've just come to the knowledge that there have been some irregularities with the polling of this, including that the applicants themselves and their neighbors were not polled. I've spoken to transportation staff. It seems that there are irregularities with another front yard parking pad poll as well, so I ask for a deferral till May to allow for a repoll.
Okay, so Mr. Jim Demakis, you have the right to speak now, but you can also come back and speak again in May, but no decision will be made today. The councillor intends to defer the matter until May 2018, but back at this body. Okay, then, and I would imagine that anybody else in the room who was waiting to on this matter, that deferral will stand. So I'm going to bring this inside. Ask Councillor Fragedakis to properly place her motion, which is now before the screen. Thank you.
Right. So it's on the screen, and I'm asking for a deferral till May to give an opportunity to have this matter repolled, as I understand that there were problems with the original poll.
Okay. Thank you. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Opposed? Okay. It still carries. T 30.34, front yard parking appeal, 135 Duvernette Avenue. Rosvita Rose?
Actually, I'm deferring this.
Deferring? Okay.
I actually am, because there's a,
She has the right
you know
to
what, so it's legitimate. There's a discrepancy about the tree, because there's a
Thank you.
supposedly an orange dot on the tree, and forestry's, I want to meet with forestry over this.
Okay. All those in favor of the deferral? This is until April. Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. T 30.35, front yard parking appeal, 52 Luty Avenue. Are there any members of the public here to speak to this matter? Seeing none, are there any members with questions of staff? Seeing none, Councillor McMahon.
Yes, and I just hope that Councillor Perks is listening to this as I move to staff recommendations to deny this parking application, because there's a situation with the tree.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. We are at TE 30.39, Old East York Village, hydro pole relocation. There's a status report.
I have a motion, but I haven't sent it.
Okay, so why don't we come back to that?
Yes, sorry.
We're going to come right back to that. We've got some others we can deal with. TE 30, yes, you too. TE 30.74, parking amendments, Wagstaff Drive. Councillor Fletcher.
Sending that to motion, I think, that fantastic clerk has that ready, April the 4th, so we can just check on that before we proceed.
Okay.
Same with the next one.
All those in favor of the deferral? It's a deferral motion?
Yep.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. TE 30.83, Councillor Fletcher.
Same thing. They're on the same street, same lane.
I think we need to see that motion on the screen. Okay, there's a deferral motion on the screen, folks. All those in favor? This is still on Wagstaff. Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. T 30.87, speed hump poll results, Glen Arden Road. Councillor Mihevik.
I'd like to move the alternative recommendations, which allows for front yard parking on every house in the street.
I have a lot of planning applications here at some point.
Okay, all those in favor of the alternative recs? Any opposed? That an item as amended? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. I am ready to release the liquor license clause. So it's T 30.93. Oh, actually, sorry. Councillor Cressy, we're at the party clause. Do you have a motion? Okay, so why don't I let you deal with this?
I have a motion if it can be put on the screen related to a 4 a.m. request.
Okay, we're on item T 30.93. I didn't read it, and I should have. Endorsement of events for liquor licensing purposes. Councillor Cressy has a motion on the screen. Okay, everyone's had a chance to read it. All those in favor? Okay, any opposed? Item as amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. And now we are heading back to the top of the page.
Number 7.
Yes, T 30.7545 Commissioner Street, City-Initiated Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application Final Report. Councillor Fletcher?
Just move to approve. Sorry that you had to sit here so long, Ms. McDonald.
Okay, all those in favor of the staff recommendations? Any opposed? Nope. That carries. Thank you. T 30.19, alterations to a heritage property, intention to designate under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, the authority to enter into a heritage easement agreement, 462 Eastern Avenue. Councillor Fletcher.
Yes, thank you. And I'm approving that. No, sorry, it goes without recommendation. It's part of the 13, the one I talked about earlier. It's the heritage report that goes with the old Weston Bakery.
Okay, all those
It'll
in
go with
favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we can go back now to, I believe we have one item left.
What was that last?
Oh,
Sit in all the seats, so they're really clean. Is that it? Oh, we're waiting for Old East York?
councillors, don't leave. We have one more item. Yeah.
Where are you moving those poles to? You should build out a parklet in front. That's what they're doing.
Janet, why don't you remove the parking?
Make a park.
Okay, everybody, we're just going to take a 3-minute recess, a break, and I'm going to ask everyone not to speak to the clerk so they can catch up on the motions here. Okay, thank you.
We may need to reopen something. Creemore's, so this Canadian Music Therapy Trust Fund. Yeah, they've got, like, it's just, we can't give them a carte blanche, right? No. We bring
Okay,
or something.
we're going to reconvene the meeting, calling the meeting back to order. The recess is over. Come on back. I think the first thing we're going to do is reopen TE 30.93, endorsements of events for liquor licensing purposes. We're going to reopen that and hold that. Or are you ready to deal with it now?
I'm struggling here, and if I may just, we approved one event, and I don't know if anyone's met with them, called Creemore Springs Street Pub, and they list no location and say dates and times are subject to change. Okay. Don't you think that's a little strange?
Sounds to me we should be pulling them.
We approved something that said for the Canadian Music Therapy Trust Fund, which may be something very good, but for the Creemore Springs Street Pub, that at the very end, in an asterisk says final dates and times subject to change, and they don't list a single location. What did we actually approve? That they can have.
So why don't we do this? Motion to reopen. Okay. And Councillor Layton, would you like to?
Yeah.
Would you like to move to withdraw that
So
item?
I'll move to withdraw this one, and I'll make the commitment that if, once I get in touch with them, I'll bring something back to council. Okay?
Yes.
The Creemore, not that they can't serve Creemore beer at all the other ones, but what exactly is that? I also allowed for 7 a.m.
Okay, so the item was reopened. Now,
Pardon me?
It's known as the latent prohibition.
Okay.
For something, and then we would, okay?
Thank you.
so we need to, so Councillor Layton has moved to withdraw that particular item out of the entire report. All those in favor? Okay, any opposed? And then item as amended, all those in favor? Yes, so Councillor Cressy, you'll have to remove your motion, sorry about that, contained in the party clause.
Yep, I can remove that.
Okay.
I put it back in a minute.
You're removing it or putting it back in?
I'm moving my motion again.
Okay.
Yes, I'm moving my motion again.
Okay, so all those in favor? Any opposed? And then finally, item as amended, all those in favor? Any opposed? None? That carries. Okay, thank you very much, folks. Sorry for the confusion. Why don't we add one item, just because our agenda is almost done. You don't want to go home yet, so I'm going to I'm going to be asking Councillor Troisi to add item T 30.104 to the agenda. It is construction staging area 100 Howard Street. You want to add that?
Yeah, we have to reopen and amend, correct?
Yeah.
And then add.
Yeah, so we're going to add the item first.
Okay.
Okay, so all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And now we can ask you to reopen it. Okay. So there's a motion on the floor from Councillor Troisi to reopen item TE 29.49 entitled Construction Staging Area 100 Howard Street. All those in favor? Okay, any opposed? That carries. It's reopened. And then Councillor Troisi, you can move those recommendations in the letter.
Pass the recommendation.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you. Okay. So technically, we have one last item left, and that's TE 30.39, Old East York Village Hydro Pole relocation. We don't see too many of those. There's no members of the public here to speak to it. Any members with questions of staff? No? Okay. Councillor Davis.
So there's a motion just asking the staff to report for the next meeting with the confirmed sources of funding for the relocation.
Okay. I think the developer should pay, but anyways, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And that is item as amended. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And who has the general bills? Okay. Can we?
You,
Madam Chair,
This was 99.
I move
It
that the
just
Toronto
needs to
East York Community...
We may have missed something. Sorry, Councillor.
we had approved it, but it needs to be revised, so I think I need to open it.
Yeah, we
Oh,
moved
okay.
your revised item.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Councillor Perks. go
I
ahead,
move that
please.
the Toronto and East York Community Council pass and declare as bylaws Bills 207 to 217, 220 to 223, 235 to 237, and 239 and 259 prepared for the February 21st, 2018 meeting 30 of the Community Council.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And Councillor Layton.
I've got the confirmatory bill that Toronto and East York Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Toronto and East York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 30 on February 21st, 2018.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Layton. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thank you very much, folks. That was a very good meeting. We got a lot done. And a lot of business was deferred until April. We can expect a very busy meeting then. Thank you, and thank you, clerks.
You brought it up.